What it is, y'all? It's your old boy Pilk, and you know what this is? We had another really phenomenal episode of Danmachi Season 4, man. Like, even when it's down, like, I'm not gonna say it's down. It's not where it was, like, obviously, like, 2-3 weeks ago, but you can't keep that going for an entire season. It's just gonna get old. So, like, it's in kind of a median state, right? It's like leading into the next big thing. So even when it's there, it still is just insanely good. Now, I'm going to come out of the gate and I'm going to say yes, like I kind of do from time to time. I do have problems with the animation quality in this episode. But I will say it's played off pretty well. There's a lot of still frames, a lot of reused frames. A lot of the reused frames are very much in Wealth actually just kind of doing the hammering, and that's okay. Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. And they had enough, like, other things. It wasn't just a static frame. They had some motion in the frame and stuff like that to make it feel a little more fresh. So I'm not mad about that by any stretch. The scenes where the monsters are just still frames moving through that was a bit lazy. But, you know, once again, a lot of those are, like, very old school anime, I guess, techniques, and they help the studios save money and produce these on time. So while I am critical of them, while I do desire more, I understand the whole point in them existing. But, so I'm like, maybe like, I'm going to give it a 7 total out of 10 for animation. If you think that's too harsh, let me know in the comments. But let's get in the meat and potatoes of this, because this episode really leads us into like the next huge, I say arc, but portion of this arc that we're on right now. And we got a ton of I guess, world, I not only say world building, you already know the world, character building, is for lack of a better way to put it. So the episode kicks off with the Estrella Familia, and we get so much more interaction between the whole Familia members. So those of you that have been following the Estrella Records story that we get in the Danmachi Memoria Freeze mobile game, we've been covering that on the channel. If you want more on that, episodes are up here on the channel. You can check those out. I'm just doing reactions to the animations from the game. But the reality here is we are getting so much more. We're getting characters that I didn't actually think we were ever going to have, like, actually interact. So this is really good. We're getting, you know, actual insight into the way they think and the way the Familia works and the way the Estrella Familia actually works as a group and stuff that, frankly, I didn't think we were honestly going to get. I honestly kind of expected the Estrella Familia to just be one note. And they're really expanding on what we already kind of know, even from the other stories in regards to that. I can't wait to see what's really revealed in the light novels above and beyond what's in the game. I absolutely am so stoked to get the translations of those light novels. So definitely looking forward to that. When those come out, we will be covering those on the channel 100%. But for now, we got just this amazing look at the way everybody thinks, and then Elise comes in and is like, you're right, but you're also wrong. Here's how this works. Bam. And it kind of shows not just Elise's like happy-go-lucky nature, we kind of already know that, but it actually goes to show a little bit more of her leadership values and the values of the Familia as a whole. I absolutely can't overstate how amazing this whole interaction was. It was way more than I expected to get out of the Estrella fam. So very, very much looking to see. We're probably going to get those for a while now, continuing on into the remainder of the season. So that brings us to the first half of the episode, which is almost exclusively Belle and Ryu. Belle and Ryu have come to the realization that they are trapped. Like, they're in the deep floors. They're ill-prepared for what lay ahead of them, and they know it. And as someone pointed out in the comments last time, Ryu even points out, she's like, what I did here, the magic healing, isn't enough. Like, we are still damaged. We are still hurt, and we are desperate. And Belle kind of chimes in, and he's like, yes, but we have to move on. We have no choice. We have to move on. And that's when, basically, despite everything, despite all of that, Ryu's like, we basically have to loot these corpses. We have no other way to really handle the situation. And, you know, you could really tell it's eating her up inside too. But Belle makes, you know, several statements to the like of that. You know, are we really going to desecrate a corpse? Are we really going to, like, you know, for all intents and purposes, defecate on the memory of these people that died here in the dungeon. And he makes a valid point, but Ryu makes a bigger and better point. It's like, it's either this or we die. Are we honoring their legacy by moving on, by surviving, or, putting everything they have to work? Because they even find food. Like, I don't know how they have a loaf of bread down there that hasn't, molded or whatever. I keep a loaf of bread in the house for 2 days and come back and it's green. But jokes aside, they find a lot of stuff, but the one thing they don't find is antidote, and that's when they kind of surmise that it was probably poison. It was probably some poison element from one of the monsters that actually eventually did him in, and it seems like they can figure out even in which order that each one kind of perished. And then they find a map, and they even find portions of a Familia crest. It'll be interesting to see which Familia that is. I think they dropped a big hint as to which fam that is. Even Ryu reacts really interestingly to it. So there's just so much going on, but they have no choice. They basically pillage the corpses. They get as much gear as they can muster, and next thing you know, they're going out into the dungeon. They're level 37. Like, that's the start of the deep floors. What they have to do is they have to go back to the lower floors, which would be level 36. So basically, they're backtrack to the next safe zone. And they even mentioned, they're like, we could find berries, we could find different types of things that will help us survive in the lower floors. The deep floors is like void of that, apparently. So we know now what the next move is for those two. They are on their way. And I cannot wait to see what lies ahead. Because remember, the Juggernaut's still out there. Like, they're going to have to face the Juggernaut at some point. And Belle is damaged, and Ryu's... I mean, she's damaged too. Like, obviously, both of them, I'm not going to say they're worthless at this point, but against something like that, they don't stand a chance. So it's going to be really interesting, because we know that's coming at some point. Maybe they're able to find something in the lower floors that's going to help them. Hard to tell, but it'll be a lot of fun. I haven't caught up in the light novels here yet. I'm still in book 13. Most of this happens in book 14, so a lot of this is happening fresh to me. And once again, guys, I want to emphasize: please, no spoilers in the comments. You could comment as much as you want. That doesn't spoil what's upcoming. A lot of you guys really like to elaborate in the light novels, and I think that does help people out perspective-wise, but let's avoid spoilers, please. Thank you. Now, the last half of this episode is almost exclusively the rest of the part. I'll call them the party, because not really the Hestia Familia. They're mostly just the party, and obviously Welf has the end of the last episode we saw him light the hearth, and in this episode we kind of see that again. The weapon just disintegrates, and that's it. He's got no choice. He has to craft a new weapon. And really, he does. He absolutely does. It's amazing. The weapon he pulls out, for those of you that actually play the mobile game, it actually looks a lot like the weapon Krazo has in the old Argonaut stories. So I'm really interested to see. And I thought for a minute they were going to tie it together, because they have that scene where he has that inner monologue with himself. I thought maybe that was like that Krazo from like olden times, that was, having some commune with him. But no, it was literally just his inner monologue, just personified. And there's a ton of that. In fact, one of the things that I will say about the animation of this episode, the one reason that it gets a 7 and nothing lower, is because when he's hammering on the item and he starts to just really lose hope, and he's desperate, things aren't going the way he expects, and he just keeps hammering, and he's like, this is dire, this isn't working. Lo and behold, he gets basically a vision of Hephaestus, who is like, what are you doing? You're better than this. And then he has that inner monologue moment with himself. And then you really, like, the animation, the way they drew his character, you really begin to see more of his determination. And, like, even his facial expressions change. Even the way they animate him coming down with, like, more force. Because before it was like, tink, and now it's, haka, and it's so well done that actually I was going to give this like, a 6 for animation. I brought it back up a notch. I might even take it back even a little bit higher because that was really something that is hard to do. Sometimes it's hard to convey that in animation. A lot of times they'll rely on audio or something like that. But the animators went to great lengths to let you know, like, he is just putting his back into it, quite literally. Like, he is just going hard. And lo and behold, you knew it was going to happen. Oka and Boar's at the door. What's really funny is earlier in the episode, it looks like they were using level boost, but then they kind of backed away from that. I don't know if that actually happened in the light novels, but it looked like they were using level boost to hold that up. And that does kind of make sense because there were a ton of mobs. And everyone's just doing everything they can to hold the mobs back. And of course, the shields start to break. Oka and Boars are blown back. And right in the nick of time, of course, because, it has to be. Narratively, it just has to be. Welf turns around, and with one swipe of the sword, I mean, it is just like a firestorm. It kind of reminds me... I know it's deliberate, but it kind of reminds me of the first time Bell used Firebolt, like, deliberately. It's just... the whole floor erupts in flames, and everything's gone. Like, one swing of the sword, everything is gone. But then, obviously, there's more behind him, and then he asks for assistance, and they drive the sword into the floor, and then it's just the whole floor just erupts in flames. And, he saves the day. He crafts this insane weapon. Now, he was saying that he wants it to be basically infinitely durable. He wants it to be invulnerable, but I don't suspect that's the case, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out either way. So very, very, very cool. Loved it so much. And now the Familia has the weapon they need. They're back at it. We didn't get an update on the search party. So the search party is still out there somewhere. So I'm expecting next episode we'll probably meet up with the search party. Bell and Ryu, I'm expecting so much more out of them. Like, this is going to be really exciting. I think from this point going forward, we're going to have another, basically from this to the end of the season or end of this expedition, I expect it to be nonstop action. So I am so stoked. I'm so excited. Episode 17 can't come soon enough. Let me know if you're the same way. I kind of rambled almost as long as the episode was, but I really loved this episode that much. Like, comment, share, all of that good stuff. I've got more Astray Record coming out for you guys here shortly. If you guys aren't watching this, if you guys are watching the anime and you're not following that story, and you don't have to play the mobile game, I'll be uploading all the stories here. It'll be so much fun. I'll put them in their own playlist for you guys here shortly. I hope to see y'all there, and I'll catch you guys, if nothing else, on the next Danmachi episode review.